Happy to get my microphone up and running again. I was just sitting here playing, and I realized that my favorite 20-inch crash cymbals all have the exact same fundamental note to them. Observe, hang on. Don't they? I mean, there might be like a semi-tone between them, but so let me tell you what I have here. Here is, I gotta tell you, man, back before the redesign of Avita Zildjians, and I'm not talking about the 2013 one where they went back to making Avitas, talking about the regular bread and butter, Azil, you know what I mean? The regular Avita Zildjians. Unfortunately, I will say as a quick aside, they got rid of the small belled 17-inch thin crashes, medium thins, and mediums, which were the best. Anyhow, what I have here is a 20-inch Avita Zildjian from the 80s, maybe 90s, one of a pair of symphonic French, okay? I always prefer the old symphonic cymbals, or the symphonic cymbals from like the late 70s, pretty much all through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, because to the regular Avita Zildjians by and large, because they had a lot more of the old characteristics of the older 50s, 60s, what I consider to be the better Zildjians. Flatter profiles, even though the bells are bigger, like the big cupped ones from the 70s and 80s, just everything else in the cymbal, you know, the hammering and the profile being flatter, I think, is magical. So, but so that's what that is. That's one of a symphonic French. Remember, in symphonic Zildjianville, you have the French, which are the thinnest, right? Thin. Then you have Viennese, which is medium, actually really medium heavy. And then you have Germanic, or what do they call it? Symphonic French, Symphonic Viennese, and Symphonic Germanic or German, I forget. Anyway, so the German are the heaviest, like pretty hardcore, okay? They have a zing, is what they say in the literature, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, the Zildjian. And as a ride, you have like, how do you like my faux trying to get the John Riley thing down. I'm decades away from that, but here's the bell. Hang on. And over here, we have a reissue Paiste Giant Beat Multi, 20 inches. These are my favorite. The reissue, well, I can't, the reissue, I think for a lot of younger folks, if I keep saying reissue, they might think, what, they reissued the reissues? The Giant Beats that were out back in the day, 68-ish, 70, actually late 70s. Don't let anybody tell you different, here and there. But this is a reissue, 2005 to now. This one is from, wait a minute, it's on the other side. So this one's from 2011. It's a multi, okay? Again, Eric Paiste and folks at Paiste, I think you should have a slightly heavier, not even that much slightly, but a heavier version of the multis. You know what I mean? This baby is, what is this one? 1,823 grams, okay? It'd be nice if you had like a 1950 gram reissue Giant Beat. You know what I mean? So you could call these, if you want to call these medium thins, the multis, and then have a medium version. You know, the Paiste medium. Anyway, but this baby, I gotta tell you, man, the reissue, like I started to say, trying to get better about my attention deficit, the reissue Paiste, the Giant Beats, to me, are the best sounding B8 cymbal there is. Remember, Paiste knows B8. I should have trademarked that. Nobody has yet. Somebody should. You want to rake in some cash, trademark it. Because if Paiste does get around to using Paiste knows B8, they might have to buy or license it from you. Just share some of the cash with me. Anyway, so here it is. Remember verses. Remember B20 alloy on the Avita Zildjian, B8 alloy on this giant beat, multi, okay? Thirdly, we go to this cymbal here, which I stumbled upon. This is the Avita's, well, it's a Zildjian made. I can't remember. Oh, S Series. You know, for the love of God, sometimes I wish I could be consulted by musical instrument manufacturers, at least in percussion bill. I don't know why you'd call this the S Series. I know it had something to do with one of the Zildjian's grandmothers, there's some reason for the S. But the fact of the matter is, steer clear of S. You know why? Scimitar or scimitar. S is even the way the S looked, which I took off the cymbal, looks like the first or second generation of the scimitar logo. Stay away from S, for the love of God, men and women at Zildjian. For the love of gosh. Anyway, but listen to this guy. This is a thin crash model Zildjian S. I think they came out with these babies like 2 years ago, maybe. I'm so impressed with this cymbal. I can't get over it. Here we go. Anyway, so here's the bell. Wait, I didn't give you the bell on the B8 giant beat. Versus the Zildjian. Hear that big clangy Avita Zildjian bell? Versus the smaller Paiste bell. Remember, the reissue giant beats aren't shaped. Well, maybe the 24s might be. But the hats in the 18s and the 20s, the shape is really that of a 2002, that they just hammered like a giant beat, which is pretty much the same hammering as a 2002, but lathed like a giant beat, okay? But moving on to the Zildjian S, see, I think, and I said this in the Zildjian, in the video I made about the Zildjian S series that I put up there, at least this cymbal, is I think it's possible the landline, that it's not lathed. I mean, it's possible. Remember I talked about before about the Paiste treatment. They had the plus treatment. They had the 302 plus, the 502 plus, and the 802 plus. Okay? Because they used to have the 502. Yes. Which then more or less was replaced by the PST5. Okay? Well, at the tail end of the 502 line, they had the plus, which was a little moniker they threw in the sticker, but the cymbal was different. It had a treatment to the top of the cymbal. It wasn't really a lathing. I think it was pressed in, or laser etched, but probably just pressed in. Actually, it was. But this, to me, looks pressed in. That's what it looks like. So instead of this baby spinning real fast, and they go, Gee! It almost looks pressed in. I mean, it probably isn't. Actually, I mean, looking at the bell, I mean, that looks like, that is lathing, okay? But this portion of it just looks... Well, I'm actually looking at it now right as I make the video. It is lathed. But the hammering is a different hammering that Zildjian employed, which is really neat. Like pretty hard, like a circle sort of jammed in there. And I think the lathe going over it just maybe gives it that appearance of like Giant Beat Plusville. Giant Beat Plus. 302, 502, 802. But anyway, so look, getting on here. Okay, so this baby, this is thin, man. 1739. Oh, for the love of God. But it has the sustain and presence of a heavier cymbal. So, I was just thinking about that. So my 3 favorite 20s in the whole wide world, here in front of me. Actually, you know what? I might have the wrong 20 here. This might be the one of the pair that I don't prefer as much as the other. But I can't remember now. Embarrassing. But if you go back and watch my Who Are You? Oh no, my Who Are You too, but also my Won't Get Fooled Again drum covers. I have 2 Won't Get Fooled Again by the Who drum covers. One is me playing along to the recording that has Keith Moon's drums on it, which I did my best to try to awkwardly EQ out on my bad board here. But the other one, I found a drumless version that I'm playing along to. So the other one, there's no Keith Moon drums on there. All the drums you hear is me playing. Anyway, the 20-inch I'm playing on there is one of these Symphonic French, and you can hear how beautiful it is. Oh, so that's it then. So that's it for the video. My favorite 20s. What else? What was I going to say? Oh, anyway, so back to me. I'm going to then procure a Vistalite kit again. Again, what happened was I had one that I bought, an amber Vistalite Bonham size kit before they reintroduced the Bonham kits, or at least the amber ones. Well, maybe, I don't know. See, I forget now. But anyway, it was a 26 and a 10 by 4, 26 by 14 and a 10 by 14 that were Zickos or 5 shelled. I can't remember. That somebody had professionally drilled for Ludwig. Remember, there was a period of time when they discontinued. I think they stopped making Vistalites, Ludwig did, maybe 84 or 5. And they didn't pick them up again maybe till like 95. There was about 10 or 12 or 13 years that they didn't. It wasn't as long a gap as you think. Like, I'm going to say in the 90s, I remember playing in bands and going to certain music stores that are closed and seeing like everyone was like, hey, Ludwig reintroduced the Vistalite. But of course, what do? They introduced Clear. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, Clear, hey, but what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think Ludwig Vistalite? Not just because we're all Joe Zeppelin. Amber, for the love of God. I mean, it eventually dawned on them not that much later, they did come out with the amber. But anyway, so I'm going to get a kit. Again, what was I saying? Trying to keep my ADD under wraps. 26 by 14 or 14 by 26, 10 by 14. It was a 6-lug top and bottom. The ones you get from Ludwig now are 8-lug top and bottom, which just makes it heavier. That's what bugs it. You know, it's just there's more lugs on it. And then my 2 floor toms were original. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to have to settle for a reissue. The reissues are great, man. I got to tell you, when I did the drum clinic at Drums Etc. in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, again, thank you to the Dudesicles at Drums Etc. They're the greatest. I played a reissue kit, and they were phenomenal, man. We tuned them up right out of the box, and they were just great, I thought. Everyone was so impressed with the bass drum. I mean, literally. The reissue ambers, Vistalites, they're great. Anyway, I'm going to get one of those kits, but I'd like to keep it under $2,000 for me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because the way sometimes you got to look at it when you buy a kit, if you're buying used especially, you got to try and get it as close as I mean, obviously you'll say as cheap as possible, right? But at the very least, my standard is it's as close as possible if I need to sell it right away, right? So I know if I had a 26, 14, 16, 18, I could probably get $1,300 for it within a week, like on Craigslist. You know what I mean? So I'd rather not spend, ideally, any more than that. But I mean, realistically, I'd like to get one for like 17 or 18 at the most, but I don't know if that's going to happen. You know, a lot of these folks that buy them paid $3,000 for them, and they don't want to cut it in half. But to be honest, though, you know the way it works with gear, man. Like if you buy a brand new car for 40 G's, you drive it off the lot, you might get 31 for it, right, or 33, right? Same with the drum set. So, but that's it. So what I'm going to do is let me just play on these babies for a minute. So again, here's the bell on this. So, please subscribe if you haven't. I'm chug-a-lugging towards 40,000 subscribers, and I'm getting toward 10 million views. All right, so more videos on the way. I know I say that all the time, and coming very soon. Thank you.